Hey, Jono.
Yeah?
Tell me I'm sexy.
You are sexy.
You hear that? How's it going? Usually, when I sit down to talk to you, I have not yet started my sewing project. However, today is a different story. Today, I sit before you with 3 finished masks. I used 2 different patterns from 2 different sources, and both of them were free and online. I know that since the rise of Lord Coronamort, that things in the world have become fairly scary. And I know that social distancing is recommended in basically every single country. Now, I saw a news article and I became instantly inspired, and I will link it below, but there was a girl in one of the Scandinavian countries, I can't remember which one. She had made these masks which were crochet, and they were a comment on social distance. Basically, the idea was the mask would be so scary that people wouldn't want to be near you. So I myself have made my own version of that. Now, her masks weren't useful for going to the supermarket according to the CDC guidelines. However, my masks are. I've made 2 pleated masks that were pleated in 2 different ways. And I have made one of these, which is the mask that is more fitted to the face. I have discovered that these ties are awful, and I will never make another mask like it using hair ties as a tie. Making ties was much, much easier. All this is some homemade bias binding, which I've just sewn along, and I haven't even finished the edge. This is the pattern from the University of Utah, and I used hair ties to secure it behind the ears. And for a while there, I couldn't understand why people were giving off patterns for ear savers, but now I get it. This hair tie is just awful. If you're really, really stuck and you don't have any spare fabric to make a bias binding tie, then I suppose hair ties would just have to do. At the time of recording this, CDC recommends that face masks should be made with multiple layers of 100% cotton. Now, as I wanted to burn the edges to seal my little zombie mask, I used 2 layers of 100% cotton and then 1 layer of 80% polyester, 20% cotton. Polyester will then melt when burnt and allow me to not have to seam the edges. What I'm doing with my little zombie mask is basically creating a collage. Now, I'm sure that you are aware that I hate hand stitching, but if there's anything that's really just gonna nail that fact down, I'm sure that the teeth are a good example. I gotta say, sewing around these teeth was really, really painful, but worth it not to have to hand stitch. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you sit through the whole lot of them. Maybe just one more. This next stage is part of the actual mask construction. The first thing you want to do is sew down one of the side seams. If you're only using 2 layers of pattern fabric, you want them to be right sides together. Then you'll want to press the seams, and on the top and bottom edge you'll want to roll it over about 1 centimeter, pin it down, press it, and then sew that top and bottom seam down. For the bottom edge, I sewed right on the very edge of the seam. And then for the top edge, I sewed in about 1 centimeter. This is going to allow us to put the nose piece in without having a funny, weird seam on the top. Next up, you'll want to make your pleats. In order to do this, all you do is fold your piece in half and then press it, and then fold those halves into the center again and press it, and then you'll want to kind of bring the folds up to meet each other. If you watch the video, you should be able to work it out. I found that this style of pleating actually ended up making the mask fairly messy as an end result. While this would be totally fine if you were doing a regular just patterned print, it wasn't great for making a mouth. So for my other one, what I did was I folded two separate pleats, one that went down and one that went up. You want to sew your pleats in place. You can just use a basting stitches. This is not totally necessary, but I really found that it helped. You'll flip the mask right sides together and sew down the outside seam. This will create a little inside out mask tube. Flip it around the right way and sew down 1 centimeter in from each seam. This will give you the space to put the ties through. Then sew the bottom seam closed 1 centimeter out. On the top edge, you'll want to re-sew over the first seam that you made. At the very top corners, you'll want to sew in about 2 centimeters, and then you'll want to sew another separate piece which has a gap, allowing you to thread your nose wire through. For the fitted mask, the way that I got the pattern off the internet is the same way as I did with my scrub hat. I don't own a printer. I just kind of held the page up, lightly traced it onto a piece of paper and cut it out. Then I placed the pattern on the fabric. Once again, I used 2 layers of 100% cotton and 1 layer of 80% polyester, 20% cotton. I then once again cut out all the shapes to make my face that I was going to make on my mask. This one is supposed to be a werewolf, although I'm not a big fan of the end result. I thought I would include this bit just to kind of prove that this is not really a project for kids. If you do want your child to play with fire, please supervise them. Unless, of course, you don't love them. For this mask, the first thing that I had to do was sew down the seam that runs basically from the tip of your nose to the bottom of your chin. So then I sewed down my collage once again, just kind of layering the pieces up to create the image that I wanted to create. Once again, this is a wolf, so I started out with the inside of the mouth, then the teeth, then I did the weird nose bit, then the other nose bit. I feel like this is just another example of how much I hate hand stitching, because this kind of sucked, but I was thinking it was worth it. So this is the actual construction of the mask. Now, if you have pattern fabric, you want to have your 2 pieces right side together. Then you want to pin it like crazy. If you have a look at how many pins I have, this is not nearly enough. Go bananas on those things, like really just stick them in there. Pretend it's your old high school teacher. Then you want to sew the top and bottom together to create a little mask tube. Flip it right side out, press the seams and top stitch along those top and bottom edges. Turn your side pieces in, thread a rubber band through it and stitch them down. Now, the rubber band, as I mentioned before, sucks, so I would recommend that you put some ties instead. The topic of wearing cloth face coverings in today's world is a contentious issue. I personally am not a doctor. However, I happen to be pretty close to one. So the general theory here in Australia is that we do not need to wear cloth masks to go out in public. You will need to check with your local authorities to find out what your guidelines are as to cloth face coverings in the public domain. When I worked in a hospital, I worked as a person who does infection control and also sterilized medical equipment for surgeries. Because of my former role in infection control, I have been trained in the appropriate ways in which to don PPE. A regular surgical mask that you will find in a hospital setting has breakaway ties. That means that when the mask is on, you pull it off and the ties behind your head will just snap. If you're making a cloth mask, you will have to figure out a way to untie this without touching it. So my little PSA that I can offer to the world is a lesson on how to put on a cloth face covering. The important thing to note is that the wire goes at the top and is pinched over the bridge of the nose. The first thing that you'll want to do, because you are about to touch your face, is wash your hands. Then, once you have washed your hands, you will place the back loop over your head and the mask will go over your face. Then you will tighten it. Pinch the top down, pull the bottom down, and tie the mask to the top of your head. Because you have just touched your face and the idea of wearing a cloth face covering is to assume that you already are infected, the next thing that you will need to do is wash your hands. To take the mask off, you do the same steps but in reverse. First, you wash your hands, then you untie the mask at the very top. You grab the mask from the sides, you pull out and up over the head. Never ever should you touch the front of the mask as you assume that it has also come in contact with the virus. Once you have safely disposed of your mask either in a washing basket or in the rubbish bin, you will then need to wash your hands again.